Georgianne, so.
Let me try. Okay, I think I was on the wrong thing.
No, it's donor retention. Do you see that?
It says, please wait, the meeting host will let you in soon.
You're in.
Okay, I think it's working.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right. So
Got it.
good morning. Thank you all for joining today. We are going to go over setting up our volunteer activities as well as checking in and out process for volunteers in Charity Proud. So when you log into Charity Proud, right, you will see your dashboard. And if you scroll down, there is a volunteers button right on your left side. When we go to volunteers button, we will need to first create a registration. I created this last night, which we will go through, which actually works, so we can use that if we need to for the next school year. So first we'll add a new registration. What this does is it creates a registration website for us, okay? So we add a new registration and let's call this FFT Waste Packing, right? It is not linked to any event. This is if this was, let's say we needed volunteers for Rockabilly, then this would make sense, okay? But it is not linked to event, so we don't pick an event here. We will put an address here, okay? And then we will go a start date. This is again not a start date for our volunteer activities, just start date as to when they can start registering, okay? So I don't know, let's say, May 31st, we can have them start registering, right? And then I usually say no end date. Let them register and it will just, go away by itself, right? And then please register. I can't type.
Better you than me.
Right? But these are some important things right here. So right now we are not capturing anything, but let's say we do want to capture emergency contact, then we can say yes, click on that, and it will require them to do that. Okay. Again, we are not in business of background check, but if we were doing it, then we'll check if we have done the background check. We don't have right now a system to, get authorization for media use, but we can. Once we do up to this, before we continue on any of the next tabs, what I like to do is save this because it opens up a few other features. The first thing it opened up is it created a new registration page right here.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Back on emergency contact. So is that their general contact info? Like give us a phone number so that if we have a snow event, that's how we find them?
No, so when they register, we will ask for them for general contact info. But let's say, again, this is not something we are doing, but let's say we want to, do where something horribly goes wrong and we want to, alert their spouse or whoever their emergency contact is. This is that emergency contact. So we don't want to capture this.
Yep, got you.
Okay. But as soon as we save it, it creates this registration page. Okay. I'm going to click on it just to show you what it does. Whatever we typed will show up here, right? So whatever message we have, we say it here, whatever title is, and then the location. Okay. Now it says there are no activities available because we haven't set up activities. All this does is creates a page, right? But if you notice, page has our own, header and everything else.
Yep.
So this is our homepage header. It automatically creates that. Okay. I'm going to keep that in there. Once that's done, next thing is to see what we want to show on the registration page. We actually don't want registration start date shown on there because we already know when it's going to there, and it's going to be only up when registration is allowed, right? So it doesn't make sense for us. We don't have any document instructions, so this again doesn't really work, make any difference to us. Here is the registration calendar. This is important. We do want to say use registration calendar. We want the calendar length in months, and this is the most important piece. We want it to be 12 months. If we do it 1 month, what this does is, let's test it, okay? Let's say 1 month, right? Well, I don't have any activities right now, so it won't show it yet. But if we had 1 month, then when a volunteer is looking for opportunity, it will only show them that 1 month worth of activity. So if we were doing in August, or let's say we were starting to do in August, right? If someone goes to register that, it will not show them that because it's more than a month away. Okay. We want this 12 months so that they can see all the activities for our school year completely. That's number one. Number two, it will allow them to register. If we keep it 1 month, then it will only allow them to register that month only. But if we keep it 12 months, then let's say Ellie wants to register for the entire school year, right? Then she, I'll show you how it works, but she can check all the boxes, and that way she doesn't have to go back again to re-register during the same school year. That's important for, less clicks for them, right? So that's why this is the most important piece. So make sure the calendar length is 12 months, okay?
So sorry, just to clarify, so we're setting up this registration that will work for all of the volunteer events.
All of the volunteer events at that location. So FFT
Cool.
West
Okay.
Packing. Okay.
Okay.
So and so this is this setup registration page. Now registration page, if you look at it, from before we didn't have calendar. Now it has a calendar. Okay. And we don't have any activities, so it won't show up here. But if we had, it will show up here, and I will show you that in a second here. So once the registration page is set up, then we have to add activities. Okay. So each Friday we have 3 activities. We have a setup crew, packing crew, and trucking crew at each location, right? So that each of these registration will have 3 activities. Okay. So we go to add a new activity, and we say here setup crew, right? What do you need, Bob, at West setup crew? 20 people or less?
Yep.
20?
Yep, 20.
Okay. So let's say 20. Okay. Then we do want to show this activity on the registration page. That's the whole reason we are doing this, right? We don't want to allow multiple check-in. What this means is, let's say somebody came in at 5 o'clock, they checked in, then they check out at 6, come back at 7 o'clock, right? We are not tracking those kind of hours. So we don't want to get that complicated, okay? And here we put our standard description, whatever it is, please help us set up for the packing volunteers, right?
Yep.
Again, works the same way. You save it, a lot more things open up for us. Okay, so once we save it, we go to activity dates. Now these are the what's important dates. If this was a single activity, we just put a start date and time and end date, and we are done. But this is not. This is a recurring activity. So we click on recurring activity. 2 things you will see. Moment you right now you see the check-in page. This is the page where volunteers can check in and check out. That's specific for that activity. But moment you click a recurring activity, that will go away. Okay, because now it manages differently, since it's that activity is, it's just not 1 page, it's many pages for every week, right? 1 page for every week. So that's why that page goes away. And we go to start date, which is I think August 14th, but whatever that happens to be. And then end date, let's say, is 14th of May of 2021. They show up at 5:30 in the morning, and they end at, let's say, 8:30. Okay. So that the first thing we need to do. here it says number of hours ahead to stop registration. So what this does is, let's say we want to stop registration 24 hours prior. Nobody can register, day before. And we can add that right here. Okay. I'm hesitant to use this just because let's say someone shows up that day and we want to register them,
Right.
then it won't allow
Yeah, I
it.
don't think we would need that.
So next thing we did recurrence pattern, which is weekly for us every Friday. Okay. One recurs every 1 week on a Friday. And then we need to exclude the dates, right? So dates we exclude are, for example, Thanksgiving we don't pack, right? Christmas we don't pack. New Year's Day we don't pack. I think April 2nd is a spring break, right? And if whatever else we have, we can also date range of a range exclusion. So if you want to say December 15th to January 15th, we can do that here as well. Okay. So we save that and that takes care of everything. Next is, this is just a notification. This is something we want to set it up is say, hey, I want to send an email to them every, time, day after, on the day, 1 day before, you decide, right? On the same day, you decide, say, Bob, you like to send thank you emails, right? So we want to do day after or same day, we can do that.
Yep.
So you set this up, email subject. We have a lot of template here. So, site logo, we keep it, right?
Yep.
Date, full name,
Yep.
and then we type in your contents and your name, right? And then a lot of merge tags are here. So we can use the merge tags. Whatever merge tag we want to use, first name, last name, our signature, we have a signature in there. So whatever we want to use, we can do all of that. Okay. So we save that so that email will always go out on when you want it to go out. Okay. And that pretty much takes care of the activity. So now, if we go to this registration page, right? And if I go to August, I should see that activity.
Yep.
Right there.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
So I'm going to now work out of the activity registration I have created. So this I created last night for our MSU site.
Yep.
Within this MSU site, I have created 4 activities. Fourth one we will delete as soon as we are done with the call, but I created 3 activities: packing crew, setup crew, trucking crew, right? Catherine, you can go back in there and change the times and spots needed. And these are just random spots I added. Okay.
Great.
And then if you wanted to go, let's say, Bob says, hey, how are we doing on volunteer registrations, right? You can go into view dates and it will tell you that, hey, this is full, but October is not full, whatever that happens to be, right? So you can see all of that at once for the entire series.
Cool.
Okay. You can edit that number of spots here or whatever you need to do. Okay. I'll come back to here for check-in here afterwards once we do this. So now on this one, we have all these things set up. So what I want to do is show you that registration page. Okay. So this is the registration page for MSU. Register to volunteer, location, and then I have test activity today. We'll talk about that here in a second. Okay, but other than that, it starts in August. And what I wanted to show you is that all 3 of them will show up obviously on a specific date, right? So they can select setup, packing, trucking, whatever they want to do. And then when someone wants to register, this is the page they are on. Let's say I want to set up for trucking crew. I click on here. It takes me to the registration page. And this is where it will tell them how many spots are left. Okay. So if let's say 2 people already registered, it will say 6 spots left. Okay. Name, address, whatever comment they want to put it, and we want to make sure some computer is not doing it, and it will register them. Few things here, they can register for more dates at one time. So here, everything they can register right here. Okay, that way, we don't have to keep coming back, right? So that's one thing allows them to do. Second thing is they can register as a group. Okay, so we don't need to get into their business. So let's say Visa wants to register as a group, more power to them. Okay, they don't have to tell us anything. They say, I want a group. They create their own group name, say Visa. Okay, and then as soon as they register in all these things, whoever is a group lead, it will allow them to add more people right here. Okay, it will allow them to set up their own group size. Say, hey, I want to register 10 people, 5 people, 2 people, whatever that is. And so if I'm a group lead, I can register 10 people at once. Or I can register 5 or 6 people, and then rest, internally I send an email, say, hey guys, go to Food for Thought, use the group name Visa and register. So in that case, I register as a group member, add my group code Visa, and I'm there.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, this is great.
That's a game changer for us.
So, all that work Jeannie had to do manually goes away.
Goes away.
Right? So I think that would be really helpful right here.
It will be.
So this is all about setting up our system. Now I'm going to talk about volunteer registration, volunteer check-in. Okay. So if I go to my activities, what I did was I registered on this test activity, which is activities today. Okay. So if you look at 2 spots are filled, right? So I registered twice on that to show you how things work. Okay. So if we go in there, well, not the activity itself, but let's see. Okay. So one thing you will see is you see here new says online registration. So whenever someone signs up, so I'm going to show you something real quick. So I signed up. When I signed up, let me see. Let me change my screen sharing. Okay. I'm going to share my email here. Okay. Can you see my Outlook?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So when I signed up, it sent me this email automatically. It says your volunteer registration details. Okay. Can you see this page or no?
Yes.
Okay. It says Food for Thought.
No,
No.
you still see your Outlook.
Okay. So I need to change. Let's see if it lets me. Okay. Now do you see the email itself?
Yes.
Okay. So it sent me this email. I put my name as test 2 because I didn't want to mess up the constituent. I'll delete that once we are done here. It tells me what I registered for. Okay. And then what activity, it was test activity. Otherwise it will say FFT, trucking crew or whatever that was, right? And then date and time. If I had registered for more than that, this table will be full with every one of that. Okay. And most importantly, it gives me this QR code. Okay. So when I come in there, right, somebody can scan the QR code and check me in. Okay.
Yep.
So let's do that first. So let's assume that I'm there. I can actually click the link as well if I don't want to scan it. So, and then I'm going to change my sharing to, okay. So it took me to this page. Okay. So my first name test 2, volume 2, whatever, volunteer 2. So it says volunteer check-in, check-out, date and time. And then I can click check-in right here, or somebody can click check-in and I'm checked in. Okay.
So basically we're allowing people to check themselves in.
We can, absolutely. So they can just click on the QR code themselves and check in, no problem. We have no problem with that. They can check out as well themselves, right? All it does is creates, now if you want to control an IP system, so we can do that as well, where we cannot check in if you are coming from, unless you're coming from a certain IP, like, location. But I don't think we want to get that fancy, but we have that ability. I'll show you in a second. But I don't think we want to get that fancy on yet. So that's one way of checking in, okay? There are 3 to 4 different ways of checking in I'm going to show you. The second, do you see this back to the registration? Okay.
Yeah.
So before I even go there, let me explain this. As soon as it sends me the email, right, it shows up my name here, okay? So somebody has to go through and process this online registration every Thursday night, I would recommend, okay? And I can do that, I have no issue doing that. Where what we are doing is, this I process myself, okay? This I haven't processed to show you how it works. So if something is, someone registered and not yet processed, it will show new here, okay? So we need to click on that, and if it already finds that person, then it will tell us that this is an existing client, and we just say link to existing and we are done, okay? I had made up some bogus names, so obviously couldn't find it, right? So then we say create a new constituent for this volunteer. We have to do that, and then we say mark as process. So that will create new record in our system for that person, and then we call it processed, okay? It also shows us their QR code right here. And it tells you where they registered. We can manually change the registration right here if we need to, by the way, okay? We can put them from individual to group if we need to. But it won't let us do any of that until we add them as a constituent and mark as processed, okay? So that somebody has to do it every Thursday night. Again, I'm happy to do it, but we need to do it. I'm going to go show you this one real quick. This I had already said, accept as the new constituent and process. So it's already been processed. Now that it's processed, it allows me to click that, hey, they already participate on this, or change me group number and whatnot. Okay. It again will not allow me without them being processed. So that's one piece we have to understand that we have to do. Okay. Just part of the process. Now I'm going to go back to the activities and show you other ways to check in. So we can go and check in right here. So if you are logged in and a lot of people are coming in, you can just say check in, check in, check in, check in right there, right? Start clicking the buttons. Bob Bell check in, Alec check in, Catherine check in, boom, 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 if you want to do that. Okay. There is also a check-in page for each activity. So if you go to a check-in page here, it will look like this. So we can put a Google Chromebook there for people to check in themselves, right? If they don't have their QR code handy, they can type in and say, it will find their name right there, right? They can start typing whatever, it'll find their name right there and they can check in. Okay, so 3 ways to check in. 1, people can type in to look for whoever was here and then check in that way. 2, using QR code. And 3, by logging in and going through this process.
Great.
I love it.
Okay. So, and once they're check in, we also need to check them out. Okay. And reason that's important is it logs the number of hours for them.
Right.
Okay. So that at the end, we just check out everybody at once, just going in here. It's probably the fastest way to do it rather than going through QR code, right?
Yeah, and Catherine, I was just talking to Ali and Georgianne. I mean, we have so many people that always are saying, isn't there something I could do? That Thursday night activity would be right up somebody's alley if we just think about it a little bit. And even if you say you want to do it, we should probably have a couple of backup people.
Oh, absolutely.
You're on vacation, whatever. It doesn't really matter, Nirav, correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't really matter who processes them that night, as long as they all get processed. So
correct. But we want to give it to access to people like
Yeah,
board members or advisory board members or whoever, because they have access to the entire database,
I got you.
right? So because they'll be editing constituents, they have that access.
Yeah,
So
good point. Okay.
but we can even give it to the 4 volunteer coordinators if they want to do it, if they have the bandwidth to do it night before.
Yep.
If they don't, somebody
Right.
else can do it. No worries.
I'm sure, yeah, the volunteer coordinators can probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
It will probably take an hour per site. That's my guess, because if we have 100 volunteers at MSU, right?
Yep.
Then, we have to either link the constituent, mark as process. So, a couple of clicks every time. So let's say 30 seconds a piece, right? So it'll take just about an hour or less, I would say.
And so I guess my only question then, what if someone, so say we have it set up where someone goes in at 8 p.m. or something and gets everyone in, and then what if someone signs up after that and then shows up in the morning?
So even if it is not processed, they can go ahead and volunteer, but their hours will not be logged until they process it. So it kind of keeps them in this limbo state.
Okay.
Until we go ahead and process it.
We may want whoever is going to be processing them to do it again, like right in the morning before people show up in case they have late signups.
If they have time, absolutely. That may, if we have a Google Chrome at each site, right? Something can be done right while you're waiting.
Real time. Yeah.
Real time, right?
We should just plan to have Google Chromes.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that the plan?
Yeah, well, I'm open to your opinions, but I think if we could define more of a registration area, I know we've only been trying that for 8 years, but some kind of a funnel that would get people to a registration table where they could access that technology and that crew of people to help them do it. It would be a game changer for the organization.
So in that case, Bob, I recommend we have 3 Google Chromes at each site. Okay. One for the coordinator to do this mass, if you will, check-in, right? We were looking at here. But
Yep.
they can also do the processing if they need to right there.
Yep.
One Chromebook for people to just manually type in their name if they want to check in.
Yep.
And I guess we don't need another 2 should be enough. For QR code, they can do it themselves. If they have the email, they just click on the email and they should be able to do it themselves.
And they would check in, right?
Yeah. So at least two Chromebooks per site.
Yeah. And I think about that signage, Catherine, that you created downtown, that nice poster board, if we had that on steroids at each location that said, come here, come to this spot to do this thing. And then we have that demand with those couple of people. It will be quick. And there's people just, as you know, milling around. There's no reason now with our efficiency and setup. People are kind of standing around. There should be no reason we can't corral them over to the sign-up desk.
And whoever has that login already logged in, right? Whoever has this page, they can be just walking around while people are in the line. Yep. And say, hey, what's your name? Boom, you're done. Don't need to be in the line anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That makes sense. And I guess just depending on the environment with COVID, we may just need to play it by ear if we want one out there for everyone to be using. I don't know.
Yeah, for the sanitization point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
But we can just see. That's still a ways away.
Yeah.
Yep, good point.
One last thing I want to mention is what the plan is that we'll have 3 registrations, right? One for West, one for East, one for a main site right here. By the way, I'm going to delete these one I created today, but I'm going to keep this MSU. I think it's more legit. You can change the names and dates and descriptions and set up emails and whatnot in there. But then on our homepage, where we go to pack a bag, right? On this page, can you see this food for thought, sign up to pack a bag?
Okay.
What we will do is right here, we'll have 3 buttons and that's it. We won't have load any events in here. We'll just have FFT West, FFT East and MSU. And each one they click, it will take them to this registration page.
Got it.
Oh,
Okay, not that page, but it'll take them to that page with the calendar right there.
so they can choose which date.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the plan.
It's a good one.
Great.
It's great. Yeah.
And then Catherine, and to be honest with you guys, I haven't looked into, and I think it's probably a bit premature. Typically, like in June now, we'll be processing getting the DPS calendar, and then,
I looked at that.
yeah. And I don't know what they're going to do with it all right now, but
Yep.
we can start then that setup. All we do is mirror that calendar for the packing event dates and the associated holidays. Keep in mind now, if we stay with Aurora and Adams 14, obviously those don't all line up, so we'll have to have some uniqueness to those pieces. Like we will continue packing longer at West in some cases than we do at Central, longer at East, and sometimes we do at West. We'll just have to massage that once we get those 3 calendars in front of us to do that. But we're used to doing that, and we will start. And I'm sorry, Nirav, I interrupted you on the calendar.
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll pull those and see, and then we're waiting to hear from DPS, obviously. I don't think that's this week or next, like how school's gonna open up, but, I suspect it's gonna be pretty much my guess would be that we're gonna open like we typically open with schools and.
I think so. I think fear is subsiding, Bob.
Yeah, I do too. That's my sense just talking to them. So that's how we'll
Great.
start planning.
One other
Okay.
real quick backward-looking thing, Bob. I'm going to send an email out to Helping Habits today, to get the data from them. What we had downloaded before for a couple of sites, when Joe downloaded, we loaded that in Charity Proud.
Okay.
Very, very, very poorly formatted. It was all the emails for one site. Let's say, it said FFT East for Friday, 10 volunteers. All 10 came in one Excel shell. So there was no way to separate it. Somebody had to manually separate it. It just was a mess. So I'm going to email him to see if he has a better way of giving us data. And then in that email, I'm also going to tell him that stop processing all the recurring donations.
Yes.
If we lose I think a couple of $100 is left, but I think it's okay. Let's just stop that madness.
Yes, I 100% agree. And then another question. So where we have now from Food for Thought West about, I don't know, Georgianne, 30 or 40 pages of manual sign-up sheets that technically should be, or I'm asking, should be input as constituents. Agreed?
Yeah.
So we've got that. I've got that data. They were very diligent about manual signups down there, and we've got a lot of bodies to put in there, so we can divvy that up and do that.
Yeah, and all we need to do is when we add a new if they're already there, obviously we'll show up when you start typing.
Yep.
But if we are adding a new one, let's make sure we check the volunteer box. So when we go on constituents, right? Let's say I'm just going to open this fake constituent which I created yesterday. So in affiliation, it will show up as volunteer because they signed up as volunteer, right? So make sure when we create a new one that we check them as a volunteer in affiliation, right? Beyond that, I guess all we'll have is their name and email address, I'm assuming, right?
We
That's
will
it.
give an email address, correct.
Which is fine. I think clean email helps us, right? So.
Yep. I don't think there's any other outstanding from West nor from downtown, Catherine, right? We don't have any input stuff to do there.
No.
So we'll get on top of that one too.
And I can help with that too, Bob.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll probably scan them all down, and then we could just figure out how to split them up. It's not, I mean, it's not 100 pages. It's probably, like I said, 30 sheets or something like that. It's beautiful, Narav.
All right.
So I just have one quick question.
Yes,
We,
ma'am.
at least at East, we always had people that didn't sign up. We had paper. We just continue that and we'll just put them in after the fact.
No,
Like we
I
have
think we want to go away from paper, Georgian. What we can do is if you didn't sign up, right
Yeah.
there, they can go to our website and register right on the site.
Oh, that's great.
Right,
That's great.
right on
So
the
maybe
site.
that would be the use for a third Chromebook
Yeah.
for people who hadn't signed up yet.
Or they can sign up from their phone as well if they,
But I think,
The idea
That's
is
going to
that,
be,
go ahead.
go ahead. Georgianne?
no, I said that's great.
Yeah, I think, I think the important part for us at the beginning is, we tend to get, and I'm the leading offender, you tend to get in such a hurry to, let's get this thing rolling, and people are saying, hey, Bob, turn the music up, let's get going, people are standing around. I think we just have to be very diligent at the start of the year about, we're not starting, so everybody's registered. If you haven't been to that, we're just gonna have to be a little bit hard ass about it and just say, if you haven't been to the table yet, we're 10 minutes away, we're 5 minutes away, go sign up. I think if we just try to create a habit out of it, I think by the 5th week, people will just kind of get in the groove of walking over there and saying, hey, good morning, Catherine, and punching the button. And, good morning, Al, and punching the button. I think that'll make it much slicker.
And if we have one extra volunteer, even after it starts, they can just walk around and say, hey, have you checked in? If not, I can just check you in, right? While they're waiting in the line.
Yeah. And Catherine, who are we forecasting for the check-in person at West?
Let me pull it up.
Or have we?
Yes, we have 2 people identified at each
Is
site.
that Donna Symington, perhaps?
Yes, Donna Symington and Debbie Miller.
Yeah, Deb Miller. Okay. Yeah. So we'll just need to obviously get them up to the speed on this. We've recorded this, and we'll have it on our YouTube. Try to get them up to speed, right? Well, all of your associates for each location, get them up to speed over the summer on this.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's great. We can have them watch these videos. And then I was planning on probably just holding another meeting with all the volunteer coordinators before we start, just to answer any other questions or make sure everyone's comfortable.
Yep. And then Catherine, if you want, what we can do during that meeting, if that's in person, is we can create a fake event and then have everyone sign up as volunteer, if you will. So we can do check-in, check-out. So kind of, go through the whole
A
process.
simulation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Rob, where people register and they put in their information, is there a way to enter a field for their company in the event that they're not registering with that group?
I didn't get that completely, Bob. She's too far from the microphone.
Yeah, the question is if people register not under a group heading, but they are associated with a group, is there a place for them to say, yeah, I'm Narav and I work for Visa at that, if they haven't signed up under a group previously?
So they can be part of they can sign up for part of the group anytime they want. Beyond that, there's additional comments they can put in here.
Okay. Yep. But if Visa comes down and they bring 2 people that were not in the sign up, we can identify them then into that group.
And we can change that right here. We can change their affiliation from individual to group and add the group name. It's a little bit of work, but right here we can change it, sign up type right here.
Yeah. Okay. I see it. Yep. That's a fairly frequent occurrence, especially lately. I think of the oil and gas people under the bridge. You know how that's been. They bring, they sign up 5 or 6, and then they bring 10 or 12. So it'd be nice to affiliate them.
But those 10 or 12, they are remaining 6 are not yet registered. So as they register, they can just add them part of that group, right?
Yes, absolutely. Correct. Yep. This is beautiful.
Perfect.
I just have a couple more questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Just the sign in, I don't know that I have like an account or a login. Are we?
So
Should-
I had given 4 logins to Jeannie.
Oh, okay.
But what I'm going to do is, now that you're on the board, I'm going to create a separate account for you. You'll have a lot more access than those guys did.
Okay.
Okay. But
Great.
just that you know, I will email you today your login, but then I'll also email you. What I've created is 4 site logins for volunteer coordinators.
Great.
So it says FFT, MSU, FFT West. That's the username, if you will. So I'll email you those so you can pass that on to whoever needs it for each site. But
Okay.
then I will create a separate new one for you with your email address, which gives you a lot more access, all the board member access.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. And then just one other thing, just to try and avoid future confusion, with the different options to check in, are we providing like directions or like the suggested method that they should be checking in? Like, are they gonna know that they should come in and check in with us, or that they should be checking themselves in, or is it just kind of free for all, people can figure it out?
Well, the QR code is the preferred method for my point of view because they can do it on their phone.
Okay.
Right? So click on the QR code and then it will open up a browser, and then click on the check-in. And then once you're done, go to the same browser, click on checkout, and that's it.
And they just do that all on their own device?
All on their own. That way we don't have to get in.
Okay. So as people are coming up to check in with us, we can explain that there's a little bit of a faster way if they want to use it.
Exactly. If they have that email in front of them, not everyone may have that, right?
Right.
If they registered with their company email and they only have personal email on the phone or something, they may not have that, right? So, but if they have that email in front of them, the fastest way to check in is to click on the QR code, check in yourself.
Great.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nirav. Thanks for all the.
Thank you, everyone.
I know. Thanks for taking us through all of this.
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
And so, Bob, you'll just be in touch when you get a calendar, when and if.
Yeah, I'll be working on that shortly, and I'll yes, definitely let you know how that's starting to shape up.
Great.
And for now, we're just going to take the calendar they have and assume in all 3 locations or all 3 districts that they're going to live to the calendar. If something gets crazy, we know what to do with crazy, but we'll just plan like it's going to be per the calendar. So yeah, that's sooner than later, Kathy.
Great.
And Nirav, I'll send you the recording once this recaps to me.
Okay, you can stop recording, Bob.